I'm making some soup later, so let me show you how to make a super easy French bread recipe to dip into all your soups. You're gonna wanna use your dough hook attachment, and I have 2 cups of warm water in this cup, and I'm just gonna pour right into the stand mixer. Next, we're gonna sprinkle in 1 packet of active dry yeast. Do not use instant yeast, you need the active dry yeast. The next thing I do is sprinkle in just a teeny bit of some granulated sugar. That just helps to activate the yeast. Let this sit for 10 minutes until it gets real nice and foamy. Just like this. I just put my spout on just to help flour from not getting all over my kitchen. And what I'm going to do is I'm gonna switch back and forth between adding bread flour, don't use all-purpose, use bread flour, and salt. You'll notice I didn't give an exact measurement for flour. Everyone's humidity is different, everyone where they live, elevations are different. That totally changes how much bread flour you're going to need for any bread recipe you use. So I'm gonna end up showing you what it should look like, but in general, it's between 3 and 5 cups. It'll be somewhere in that range. You are also going to need more salt than you think. Like 1 teaspoon is not enough. You need a lot of salt to really flavor bread. This is the consistency you want. It's slightly sticky, but not where you're gonna be pulling it off your fingers for the next hour. Now the next thing I do is I'm gonna let my paddle attachment go and kind of let it knead itself in the bowl for a good 5 minutes. If you're doing this by hand, just flour your surface and hand knead for 5 minutes. This is what it should look like, and it should have some bounce back, and that means it has really good gluten development, which is what you want. I'm just gonna grease this bowl with a couple tablespoons of olive oil and spread it around with my hand. And then what I do is I put one dough side down, kind of spin it in the oil to get some oil on it, and then flip it back over and spin it so the whole dough ball is coated in oil, and then I'm just gonna cover this and leave it in a warm spot for an hour and a half to 2 hours. I'm just sprinkling a little flour down. It's been an hour and a half and my dough is nicely risen, about double in size. Punch this down just to get the big air bubble out, and you're gonna dump this out onto your counter, and you're just gonna give it just a few fold overs, kind of like kneading just for a minute. Now when you have it in a pretty decently even, nice circle like this, you're just gonna take any sharp knife that you have and cut the dough in half. It's okay if it's not exactly precise. You can use a scale, I don't get that fancy here. So this is gonna make 2 long loaves. So what I'm doing is I'm taking 1/2 of the dough and I'm gonna kind of knead and manipulate it into kind of like a log shape. You're gonna want them about 12 inches long, and do not worry if it doesn't look perfect. It's gonna look completely different once it bakes. Now that I have them both on some parchment, and I also did spray some non-stick spray on the parchment, you're just gonna wanna sprinkle just a little bit of flour on the top of each loaf and just kind of rub it in. And then I'm just taking another pan and I'm gonna cover and leave these alone another 30 to 45 minutes. Now here's the secret to getting that like really good chewy crust on a French bread. You're gonna take an oven safe pot, mine is all metal. I filled it just over halfway with water. This I'm going to place on the rack below where I'm going to be baking my bread. Let me show you how I set up my oven. So you're gonna put your water on a lower rack where it'll fit, and your bread is gonna bake here, which is right in the middle. If you have a convect bake option on your oven, use it. That is your best friend. If you don't, that's totally fine, but in the interim, I am going to preheat the oven to 450 degrees with the water in there before we get our bread in there. My oven's preheated. We're gonna bake these for 30 to 35 minutes. It should be nice and golden brown, and you should have almost a hollow-like sound, and that's how you know it's done. You have this nice, like, chewy exterior, and that's from the steam from the water. I did let the bread sit for about 10 minutes before opening it up. That's a good one.